At the time of recording this audio, Detroit Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin is yet to have gotten traded. And based off of the tides that have turned, based off of the way Steve Yzerman, Detroit Red Wings general manager, has spoken out about Larkin and the situation, it doesn't really seem like the guy is going to get traded anytime soon. It seems like there's a chance he just sticks around with the Detroit Red Wings. So with that said, let's dive into some more Larkin trade discourse and ask the question, what does a 3-team trade look like? This is a post made on the r Detroit Red Wings subreddit by Standard Cow 7038, and I really like this discussion. Because obviously Dylan Larkin is a guy whom, if he were to get traded, it's already been talked about by Steve Yzerman, he ain't trading Larkin for nothing. And that's not because he really wants to attain maximum value for an asset that he feels is so amazing and so grand and so spectacular. No, it's the fact that Dylan Larkin has no leverage. The guy has a contract that goes till 2030. He is committed to playing in Detroit whether he likes to or not. So, with the list of Larkin teams being so small, it does beg the question, if the Red Wings really wanted to get more, if they really felt like whatever offers the Golden Knights, the Panthers, or the Wild could muster up on their own for Larkin were insufficient, is there a chance a 3-team trade gets introduced in order for this to work and in order for the Wings to get the assets they feel are necessary to allow them to trade Larkin away? This post was made by Standard Cow 7038, and they ask apologies in advance if this has already been asked or discussed. My question is, what does a 3-team trade involving Larkin look like? I'm assuming it's because Yzerman wants a legit roster player in return, and since Minnesota and Vegas, etc. don't really have that available, a team like Mini adds a 3rd team. How do you see that shaking out? Normally, 3rd teams are added to help with salary retention or picks, but I'm trying to picture how this could actually happen with a return that Detroit benefits from. And this would make sense. If the Red Wings' ask from Minnesota is too high for the Wild to compromise, we already saw Matt Boldy potentially being talked about as a guy that Stevie Y and the Red Wings want in these Larkin trade talks. Now, whether or not you actually do think that Boldy is an appropriate trade return for Larkin, that's up to you. That's another conversation. I'd probably say that Boldy's worth more. But if Minnesota is so dead set on sending a guy like Danila Yurov, for example, to Detroit, and that's not enough, maybe another team could get involved to send some other assets to Detroit in order to facilitate a proper 3-team trade, so to speak. Top reply from Funny Demand 6333 says an example would be if, say, San Jose, the Sharks, they thought Wallstead was their missing piece. Maybe San Jose would get Jesper Wallstead and 2 firsts from Minnesota. Minnesota would get Dylan Larkin, and Detroit would get Michael Misa and Danila Yurov. Something along those lines. Now, this wouldn't actually work because if you look at it from the Minnesota angle, it would be Wallstead, 2 firsts, and Yurov, essentially for Dylan Larkin. And look, this trade looks amazing for the Detroit Red Wings. It looks amazing for the San Jose Sharks. The Wild are getting absolutely hosed in this kind of a move. Imagine getting 1 second-line center or first-line center for Wallstead, 2 firsts, and Yurov. Yeah, it's not good enough. I'm sorry. You would have to get a number of other assets. Maybe Detroit sends over another roster player or something. Is there anybody going out there and talking about whether or not this actually would make sense? I don't know. Anyways, I don't think that's worth it for Minnesota, but you get the idea behind this move. If Detroit's able to get a name like Michael Misa, for example, whom I don't actually think is available, the San Jose Sharks just traded away William Eklund because they got Ivar Stenberg, but it doesn't seem like there's flexibility on movement for any of these other young forwards that they've got between Ivar Stenberg, Macklin Celebrini, Michael Misa. if he is available, if he is somebody the Red Wings could inevitably get, then that would be amazing. But Michael Misa for now is a guy that's coming off of what was a brilliant OHL career and who ended up posting 21 points in 45 San Jose Sharks games. It is just a matter of time before he breaks out. I would even wager a bet and say that Will Smith is more tradable for San Jose than Michael Misa. I do think that Misa's ceiling is just a tad higher, even though Will Smith already displayed some very good skill in the NHL this most previous campaign with 59 points. I mean, talk about an abundance of young talent in San Jose, eh? But either way, if the Red Wings are able to get a Danila Yurov, a win-now piece who happens to also be young, and another younger prospect in the mix too, I'd say that's a really great return for Dylan Larkin. Danila Yurov can essentially replace the minutes that Larkin had, even though he might not do it as well. 27 points in 73 games, again, maybe not as good as Dylan Larkin, but still somebody that can fill out and work his way up into being a top 6 center molded player. For the Minnesota Wild and their deployment of Yurov, it's almost like they needed to put this guy into more of a promising spot, especially since they had traded Marco Rossi away already. It's kind of funny, it's like, hey, they need centers. Joel Eriksson is there, Rossi's there, Yurov is there, but none of these centers are like that good. You know, no disrespect to Joel Eriksson, but he ain't even no Dylan Larkin, if we're being honest. Let's go out there and read some of the other replies on this thread. If San Jose really wants Jesper Wallstedt, then I don't really know why they would do the Askarov trade. I mean, he wasn't very good last year. It would depend if they actually view him as the goalie of the future, whereas Wallstedt is a bit more proven. Their defense as well was horrendous. I think they'd be willing to see how he does with some help this year. That makes a lot of sense as well. Another reply says, it's easy for us to hate on all these Yurov trades, but that is one I can get behind. Yeah, Yurov is fine if he is the second piece in a big deal. Bill Guerin is trying to make him the centerpiece, which is insanity. I've been thinking we extort as much as we can out of the Wild, like the Yurov Stramel 2 first-round picks trade, and make them give us Eriksson Ek. Give them Larkin and Comfort in return. Take the capital they got for Larkin and offer Columbus 4 first-round equivalents for a Fantilli sign-and-trade. Okay, that is ambitious, to say the least. Imagine making multiple moves for Stevie Y. Couldn't be my GM, eh? Another reply goes out there and talks about how Misa for Larkin is insane. We wouldn't be getting Yurov, we'd be shipping assets out. Unfortunately, I think Misa is basically untouchable unless the Red Wings add. Minnesota gets Larkin and a Detroit second or third. San Jose gets Wallstedt 2 first, Stramel and either a top 3 prospect or a Detroit first. And the Red Wings get Misa and Yurov. There is also no universe San Jose wants Wallstedt, so it's sort of a moot point. Man, I just like the idea a lot of Michael Misa coming over to Detroit, eh? Not as if this video was made only as an excuse to talk about that, right? Anyways, there are 3-way trades to be discussed when it comes to the Dylan Larkin trade conversation. Until this guy opens up his trade list and is willing to go to different teams, this is all we can come up with, because we've already exacerbated the conversations on Minnesota, Vegas, and Florida enough. There's no way this guy gets traded to any of those teams because of what they're offering. They've got to add more. There needs to be another team involved. There needs to be more teams added to the list to drive up that price, to make more of a bidding war go through. And you can let me know your thoughts in the comments section below whether or not you see that actually happening with potentially a team like San Jose. Is a Michael Misa guy even really possible at this point? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this hypothetical Larkin 3-way trade with San Jose and the Minnesota Wild. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.